My ex, his name's Daryl Ween. We made our first film together was called Breaking Upwards, and it was a film that was very much based in an experiment we did in our relationship early on. We were in our early 20s, in which we took half the week on and half the week off. And on the
Mm-hmm.
days off, we were allowed to have sex with other people and not talk about it. And so we made this whole movie about it, not really thinking that we would become like accidental mouthpieces for like non-monogamy. And suddenly the questions became quite invasive. And I remember really not liking that, even though
Mm.
I had put myself out there in such an exposed way. It's an interesting sort of fine line because I love exposing myself in my work, but I do have some fear around how much people will feel they're entitled to ask me
Right.
or to know of me, especially because in this I am so naked and it is pretty hypersexual, even though it's many other things. I'm still in the sort of waiting period, of like, do I need to be scared? Am I going to be okay? But I think hopefully the world has shifted in some ways where there's enough sex positivity to not just pigeonhole a person into one thing.
I've always kept a pretty strong line between my private life and my public life, and because I can't handle it. Not
Mm,
because I think that's the right thing to do, but because I can't handle it. I had an eating disorder all through my teens, and so whenever I get on the
mm.
scale, the doctor was, I turn around because I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I've decided there's some things in my life that I know I can't handle it, so I'm not going to. I've got kids and jobs, and I'm going to deal with the things I can deal with. And in therapy, I'll deal with the things I can't deal with the best I can. This idea of putting yourself out there and being able to handle what comes back seems like the big question. Like, you're willing to put out a huge chunk of the pie of you. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean there isn't other sections that don't belong to the public. Of course, I watched Pam and Tommy, but then I watched the Pamela Anderson
Yeah,
documentary
amazing.
and broke my fucking heart to see a girl who was raped at age 12 by an older man. Not that it matters, but still
Hmm.
disgusting. And then say, why? Because I chose to take my clothes off in Playboy and is the rest of my life and sex life and body owed to the public.
Yes.
And when I saw that, I just freeze and I think to myself, oh, thank God I've never taken my clothes off. But then I listen to you and I think you've got some different line of privacy within you, something that you do protect in yourself. Would you agree with that, that you can protect part of yourself?
Yeah, yes. I mean, I think what was amazing about that Pamela Anderson documentary and why it had such a huge impact was because of her resilience in the face of just a lifetime of sexual objectification. I think that it speaks to the moment we're in, that people are actually able to see her in all of her facets now,
Mm-hmm.
whereas she was a punchline literally up until this documentary. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
literally, she was a punchline in Pam and Tommy. I'm hopeful that the framework is shifting slightly in the way that we can embrace women and women's sexuality in media so that it doesn't become as punishing and
Mm-hmm.
damaging and limiting. I think that was my intention for this show, was to sort of put it in the world's face and go like, do something with this, but don't do that. Like you have to see me as all these things because May is also like a mess, like she's many things and she's multidimensional,
Multi.
and multiversal and also a sexual being. And I think like that's where we need to get to, is to be able to see women on screen who are all of the things, not just the sexual object, not just the
Mm.
ingenue, not just the slut, not just the
Mm-hmm.
virgin, not just these archetypes that have kept us so trapped. I guess I'm hopeful, yeah, Julie, that that I'll be protected and still be able to spark a dialogue around these things.